Uh, so I have a few slides as a way of introduction before we get into the actual reading. And these are meant to stimulate your sense of the meaning of totality, to understand and appreciate the meaning of totality. Totality involves everyone and everything that could ever be anywhere and everywhere. Totality includes all aspects of the sonship and all aspects of creation. It's an abstract idea. And so we use images only as like fingers that point towards the moon. They're not the actual totality, but they're meant to stimulate your spiritual imagination so that you might begin to appreciate this concept. Here's one that I was inspired to put together just moments ago. And so take a look at these two images and think of them as two different thought systems, as symbols representing two different thought systems. And we read in chapter 6 that everyone identifies himself with his thought system, and that every thought system centers on what you believe you are. And so that's great. And if the center of the thought system is true, then only truth extends outward from your awareness, from your thought system. But if the center of the thought system is a lie, it's mistaken, if it's an error, if it's a denial of the truth, then deception proceeds from that thought system. And so this is where, and what's this have to do with totality? Well, totality is the center of the thought system that the Holy Spirit teaches. And you might say, well, I thought it was forgiveness, or it was love, or it was some other word that describe it. Well, they're all interrelated, as we will see. So this is just an introductory. And here is the real reason why I'm on a mission here, a campaign with these few readings that we have in the next few days, is A Course in Miracles says that you can understand totally by understanding totality. So break that down a minute. First of all, it's encouraging you to understand totality. And the effect of understanding totality on you is that you will totally understand. And that's a spiritual milestone in any person's journey, is to understand totally. As we indicated before, if your thought system centers around a mistaken sense of what you are, then it means you don't understand at all. It's only deception can proceed from a mistaken thought system, and therefore that needs to be corrected. It's corrected, and one of the milestones along the journey of correction is to understand truly what you are, and therefore have an appreciation of totality. So these are just warm-up ideas, and we'll read about it in detail. Thank you all for being here. What a incredible reading we have today. David Welton has volunteered to be our reader, and I appreciate your reading today, David, whenever you're ready.
7. The totality of the kingdom. 1. Whenever you deny a blessing to a brother, you will feel deprived, because denial is as total as love. It is impossible to deny part of the sonship as it is to love it in part. Nor is it possible to love it totally at times. You cannot be totally committed sometimes. Denial has no power in itself, but you can give it the power of your mind, whose power is without limit. If you use it to deny reality, reality is gone for you. Reality cannot be partly appreciated. That is why denying any part of it means you will have lost the awareness of all of it. Yet denial is a defense, and so it is as capable of being used positively as well as negatively. Used negatively, it will be destructive, because it will be used for attack. But in the service of the Holy Spirit, it can help you recognize part of reality and thus appreciate all of it. Mind is too powerful to be subject to exclusion. You will never be able to exclude yourself from your thoughts.
So there are several laws of mind that are referred indirectly right here in this paragraph. And so we want to unpack it for a moment. And it hinges around the role of denial. Just briefly, denial is one of many psychological devices or defenses that the ego uses to try to hold off reality, hold off love and the truth, and instead keep intact its own fearful, frightened view of life. And all psychological defenses, as it says here, can be used in a negative way by the ego, but they can be remapped or repurposed and used positively by the Holy Spirit. So that's a learning of how to take things your mind has used many times, such as denial, and now use it on behalf of the Holy Spirit. Well, why is all that matter? Because all of us have done this thousands of times and here's some example, by denying part of the sonship. So anytime you would exclude any person and judge them negatively, you're outing them. You're putting your own mind in a position where it can judge another person as less than or unworthy of love. And to deny part of the sonship is to deny all of it. So if you believe any one person is unworthy of your love, then law of mind is your mind believes that you can judge that way, and it will therefore, you cannot limit that judgment to just that one person. It will extend to everyone. So that would be an improper use of denial. It's an attempt to try to partially love sometimes, conditional love conditionally, and then other times be unloving and judging. So it says, law of mind, reality cannot be partially appreciated. And so how do we escape from that pattern of thought? Well, the Holy Spirit is our guide. She helps us to redeploy denial so that in the service of the Holy Spirit, denial can help you to deny the lies of the ego, proper use of denial, of which those thoughts will exist within humanity and will cross your mind many times this week, of denying anytime you see an inequality in anyone, you're in a state of denial of the totality of the sonship. So you can deny that lie in the service of the Holy Spirit. If you can recognize that that is a lie, it's not true, then that can lead you to the alternative, which is that we are a totality, we are an equality, there is a wholeness, a completion, and a oneness to reality, which has been always true and always will be true. You will never be able to exclude yourself from whatever thought system you believe in. Sandra, you had your hand up?
Yeah, this is great. I loved your visuals, by the way. And I just want to ask a question as to, for me, what you're explaining is really unconditional love and inclusiveness, but how does setting healthy boundaries work with that? Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, it's very consistent with the proper use of denial. So obviously one has to recognize when boundaries are need to be set. And that's a vital matter of fact. Setting healthy boundaries is a workshop. Okay, it's not a 1-minute summary here. The Course in Miracles teaches that as we become less afraid and more guided by the Holy Spirit, we are able to better understand what healthy boundaries look like, so that attack and judgment and fear are not healthy. And so we proper use of denial, I recognize that as ego content and don't buy into it. Susie's metaphor is don't jump into that boxing ring.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, don't get into that fight, because that conflict cannot bring about truth and innocence and love. So it's a recognition of where healthy boundaries are needed, and that's the beginning of it. But that in itself will not heal you. That will just protect you from going in the wrong direction from the conflict.
For me, setting those healthy boundaries was when I started to include myself in the unconditional love. Like before, it was all about me loving everybody else unconditionally, but now the setting of boundaries includes me in that unconditional love.
Yeah, very much so. This is why it's a workshop, not a paragraph summary, because it has those multiple dimensions. It's my relationship to others. It's my relationship to myself. It's their relationship to me. And then their spirit guiding how those relationships look when they're healthy, as well as where to draw a line, which is what a boundary is, when there's unhealthy activities going on. So that's all I really want to say on it right now. Like I say, this is a workshop, and the theory is easier to learn than the practice is to implement. Like so many things, you can summarize it in one way, but it really comes down to a recognition in the moment of when a healthy boundary is needed. But the proper use of denial is a vital skill for learning healthy boundaries. I don't want to engage in that conflict, that anger, that attack, that reliving of the past, etc. And this is a part of the broader topic within Course in Miracles, is learning to stay in your lane and watch your mind, guard your thoughts from slipping in, unbeknownst to your awareness, slipping into the ego's conflict once again. Okay, so we're introducing, if you just joined us, we're introducing the concept of totality. Oh, I just wanted to make a quick point out the reference to it here, because you might have missed it. Where is it that it says it's not possible to love the sonship totally sometimes? If you're going to love the entire sonship, it's part of a totality. It's a continuous thing. It's not a on-off switch that can be loved at times and other times rejected. Yes, so that's one of it. And the sonship itself is a totality. There's one more here. I thought it said where it said everything, but it doesn't matter. We're going to, it will, here's one of the attributes of a totality. If you can recognize part of totality, you will be able to appreciate all of it. It's a beautiful inroad. So this means if you can totally, unconditionally love someone, that means that same ability allows you to love everyone. It's a totality. Now, this is not according to the laws of the ego. This is according to the laws of spirit. If you can love one person totally, that allows you, that ability allows you to love all. We'll go on. David?
When a brother acts insanely, he is offering you an opportunity to bless him. His need is yours. You need the blessing you can offer him. There is no way for you to have it except by giving it. This is the law of God, and it has no exceptions. What you deny, you lack, not because it is lacking, but because you have denied it in another and are therefore not aware of it in yourself. Every response you make is determined by what you think you are, and what you want to be is what you think you are. What you want to be then must determine every response you make.
So these are the attributes of a thought system at the center of every thought system is your idea of what you are. And every response you make is determined by what you think you are. If you think you are a loving eternal being for here on earth for a time to heal and help others to heal, then that's how you will respond to others. Obviously, the ego would have a different recommendation of how you would respond, how you would think about yourself, and how you would respond to them. And so Course in Miracles is very psycho-spiritual. Its depth, it has unlimited power to go deep into your sense of everything, because it deals ultimately with the choices you make about what you want to be. And by that, I don't mean just I mean throughout, be in life. To what you want to be will determine every response you make. Now, I know this is a bit abstract to many of you because we were not taught these things. However, it is interwoven into the entire thought system that the Course teaches, such as all that I give is given to myself. What you want to be determines every response you make. So let's think of an example of that. When a brother acts insanely. Okay, so here's an invitation for you to get triggered, for you to get upset, to think them less than perfect and good. When a brother acts insanely, how can the Holy Spirit help you to learn from that? Well, it's an opportunity for you to bless him. And while it appears on the surface that the brother acting insanely has the great need, the truth is your need to bless him is also a vital part of the healing of the sonship. You need the blessing that you can offer him. And this is a reformulation of how we relate to others. And we're speaking about it in the abstract. It applies to all relationships. You need to be able to bless them so that you can allow love to flow from yourself to them. This is a reflection of what you believe about yourself. By the way, it's the law of God and has no exceptions. Every time you relate to somebody, you relate to them through what you believe about yourself. And if you're not blessing them, then what are you saying about yourself? And so we're dealing with an example of one person in a situation, I'm sure you'll encounter it, where it seems like the other person is acting in a way that you do not understand and might be tempted to be judgmental towards. That is an opportunity for you to confirm that you're here to bring blessings to life and to all your relationships. David?
You do not need God's blessing because that you have forever, but you do need yours. The ego's picture of you is deprived, unloving, and vulnerable. You cannot love this, yet you can very easily escape from this image by leaving it behind. You are not there, and that is not you. Do not see this picture in anyone, or you have accepted it as you. All illusions about the sonship are dispelled together as they were made together. Teach no one that he is what you would not want to be. Your brother is the mirror in which you see the image of yourself as long as perception lasts. And perception will last until the sonship knows itself as whole. You made perception, and it must last as long as you want it.
Please, after the class, come back and spend some time reading and meditating on this paragraph. It really encapsulates a great deal of what needs to be said here. And why is it that we need to bless a brother because when they're acting insanely? Because you need to extend a blessing to affirm the truth of yourself, of your true self. The ego would never have you do such things. It has a picture of you as lacking and deprived and not having any blessing to give. It would say, well, why should I bless someone else when they're behaving poorly? It would not at all encourage you to do this. And this is profound. You cannot love that image of yourself that sits in judgment of others as not being worthy of your blessing. Do you not see how, by the very definition, by condemning them, you are also including yourself in that image of people, of humanity, of selves? So, and it would be a mistake to think that you can reform that deprived, unloving image of yourself, that you can somehow go to a workshop and improve it to the point that you love it. And the Course teaches emphatically that you can never love the ego's picture of you. It says instead that you should leave it behind, abandon that image of yourself, because it is not who you truly are. It is a lie, the great false self-image. And Sandra's question about healthy boundaries comes in right here, because boundaries begin, the proper delineation of healthy boundaries begins with knowing about the truth of yourself. Ego says, no, it needs to begin with somebody else, or it's about my vulnerability, it's about their threat to me, it's about how I might get hurt. That would be the old school interpretation. So healthy boundaries is right here. Do not see this picture in anyone. We're talking about a picture that is deprived, unloving, and vulnerable. Do not see this picture in anyone, or you would have made the mistake that it's true of you. And so healthy boundaries is right there. Do not see yourself do not see someone else in an unflattering light. Because if you do, you will see yourself in that unflattering light. And right there, you would have adopted a false self-concept about yourself. this broadens rapidly. It's like a virus of false thinking, so that it's quickly all illusions about the sonship can be dispelled together as they were made together. It's the how, by changing the thought system to which you adhere. All the thoughts that go with that thought system are dispelled together. So, but your part in it is to teach no one that he is something that you would not want to be. And by teach, we mean really don't even entertain the ideas or the feelings, or certainly the statements and behaviors that would indicate that somebody else is something that you would not want to be yourself. For, and here's the universal truth, your brother is the mirror in which you will see the image of yourself. It is a law of perception. You will see others in the light in which you see yourself. And that's not a forever. The laws of perception will not last forever. The laws of perception, we will, as individuals and collectively, eventually set the laws of perception aside and move on. But in order to do that, we have to be totally willing to totally forgive everyone. And that will last until the sonship knows itself as whole, knows itself as a whole, a totality. Okay, so I might be elaborating on this in a choppy manner, but trust me, it'll come when it comes. Heather?
Yeah, I love this line. You are not there, and that is not you. It's Eckhart Tolle's, one of my favorite examples is when he says, I have an argument with somebody, and he says, and then I realized he said, oh my God, I wasn't even there.
Help me with that. Who wasn't there?
Himself, his true self. He's like, so this thing was going on and he wasn't even participating. He was like, I wake up and I realize, oh my God, I wasn't even there. Where was I? I left my body and I wasn't there. And the whole thing happened in front of me and I wasn't even there. It's just exactly what this is. You're not there and that is not you.
Yes.
So
True.
it's such a perfect example. It just cracks me up when I go into that state and I go, oh my God, where did I go? I wasn't even there when that happened.
Totally offline. Totally disengaged. Yeah. Sandra?
I think Richard had his hand up for a long time, so maybe, and I've already.
Well, I'm calling on you now, so you go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, and I wrote it in the chat that this is really about going within, because if I have any guilt whatsoever, I'm going to project that on my brother. And that's when I start judging him.
Yes.
So I got to go in and see if I have any guilt about anything and clean that up and look within.
Yes.
And forgive myself first, and then I can forgive my brother. And well, I can see, once I forgive myself, I can see my brother and myself as innocent.
True. Very true. Thank you. Yes, the inner work is vital to it.
Yes.
The way we treat others, so to speak, extending our relationship outward is a direct reflection of the way we feel about ourselves inwardly, which, cast in the terms of what we're reading today, the way we see ourselves depends on the thought system for which we are invested in, giving our faith to, giving the power of our mind to. It's an entire collective. See, Sandra, the way I thought about it for many years is that I had this whole room full of guilt, and one by one, I needed to bring it out into the light and give it to the Holy Spirit, one by one, one by one, one by one. And I still participate in that. It's using a specific event as a way of healing, but there's a bigger meta story which is that we could be completely forgiving of all things merely by abandoning the notion that guilt is real, that there's any basis for guilt whatsoever. Realize that that thought itself is insane, and adopt the a view of perfect innocence of everyone. It collapses the time it takes to bring forgiveness to everything in your life. Richard? So I don't know if you're driving right now, Richard, but I'm concerned about you pressing buttons while you're driving.
How about now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. What I'm sorry I'm late. I'm Saturday's a tough time for me, but I feel connected when I've accomplished something when I touch base with the group. What I feel lately is just pure energy, no judgment. I'm just like bouncing around and enjoying myself. And whatever is going to be, but I'm doing less projection and just enjoying whatever it is. There's an I feel a detachment without separation. I guess the word I've been reading and studying Hindu and some Buddhism, and I think the word, that's dangerous when I think the word, because it's new to me, but when I apply it, it works. And that would be my Dharma. Okay, my life's purpose. And it's different, and I'm seem to be getting, when I say better, it's coming easier. And I need less things to fulfill me. I'm feeling blessed without the image of being blessed. I'm just in touch with nothing but with the spirit.
Nice.
And what I'm also seeing with judgment, when I start judging, and I know this for a fact, I put bad karma out there. And what I was taught, what goes around comes around. May not come around right now, it comes around.
Right.
So I guess what I'm saying is I'm learning to adjust when I keep that connection with the spirit. I can't fake this. It can't come from the ego. It's got to come from a different part of me, inside of me, that, like I'm walking around with an inner flashlight looking like, who's doing this? Or like a cleansing. And you talked about atonement and forgiveness, because there's no judgment. If I'm judging out there, then it's something inside of me that's trying to con my way by blaming someone else.
Nice.
And without blaming, though, the ego attacks without saying, but I can see like a thief in the night. So
Thank you, brother.
I may need my head examined after this year, but I'm putting it out there.
Thank you. We'll all go for our head to be examined after today.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother. We'll move on.
Illusions are investments. They will last as long as you value them. Values are relative, but they are powerful because they are mental judgments. The only way to dispel illusions is to withdraw all investment from them and they will have no life for you because you will have put them out of your mind. While you include them in it, you are giving life to them, except there is nothing there to receive your gift.
So Sandra brought up the idea of healthy boundaries. Well, that theme comes out again when it comes to your own illusions. Illusions are investments, and you can make poor investments and good investments. And when you make a poor investment, it's essential that you recognize it and put them out of your mind. That is setting a boundary. I am not going to engage my mind in this series of grievances, guilt, and judgment this story that I'm telling myself about another person being unworthy of love. I'm going to put it out of my mind. Now, there's a second part to that, to what you do put into your mind, but it must begin with drawing the line of what you will not allow in your mind. Because these thoughts of judgment, deprivation, and lack of love, when you include them in your mind, you're giving life to them. You are giving the power of your mind to those ideas. We call this in Course in Miracles is miscreating. It's using the power of your mind in a direction which it was not of guilt and judgment and attack. It was not intended for. Healthy boundaries, and this is easier to say than to learn to do. You have to learn to put certain ideas of the ego out of your mind. This is no different than if you were to sit quietly and try to meditate on nothing for 5 minutes. As you sit there, thoughts come up. We know they do. And how do you respond? Do you entertain them and explore them and engage them, or do you let them pass by so that they go out of your mind? David, let's go on.
The gift of life is yours to give because it was given you. You are unaware of your gift because you do not give it. You cannot make nothing live, since nothing can be enlivened. Therefore, you are not extending the gift you both have and are, and so you do not know your being. All confusion comes from not extending life, because that is not the will of your Creator. You can do nothing apart from Him, and you do nothing apart from Him. Keep His way to remember yourself, and teach His way lest you forget yourself. Give only honor to the sons of the living God, and count yourself among them gladly.
So we read earlier about when a brother is behaving insanely. This is your opportunity to bless them. Well, why would you bless someone who's behaving in a manner that is totally unacceptable in your opinion? Because you need the blessing. Because in truth, the gift of life is yours to give. It was given you. It's yours to give. Now it's a choice about whether or not you see yourself in that light, or you see yourself in the light of your role is here to judge others. It's a choice. They're two very different thought systems. And if you are unaware of your gift, then you won't give it. So awareness that you have a gift to give comes first. And otherwise, it won't even occur to you to bless a brother when their behavior is questionable. And so the foundation for all this is, what do you believe you are? And it's about knowing your own being, knowing the eternal truth of your supreme self. And so we refer to that in the course is you are both a gift, you have a gift, and you are a gift, therefore you give gifts. We call it both having and being. It's a part of your nature to bless and give a blessing. And if you don't know this, you don't know your being. And Heather referred to it, I wasn't even there. I was completely unconscious. I was completely confused and in the dark. And so what this program, Course in Miracles, is attempting to do is help you to recognize your own being. And with that comes the recognition that you have been given a gift and that you are part of that gift. It's not like a possession. You give it away and you don't have it anymore. You are a part of it. And therefore your role is to extend it. And so this is his way, the Holy Spirit's way of remembering yourself and teaching you so that you won't forget yourself. Wow, that's an important boundary, is not forgetting yourself and remembering yourself. Matter of fact, I can safely say everything in terms of the conflicts of this world hinges around whether or not you remember your true self or you forget yourself. That is the center of your thought system. And it's the reason why we need to do workbook lessons on a daily basis, is to remember what our true self is and to affirm with our mind so that our mind remembers to stay in our lane. Why are we here? We have a purpose. We have a function here, but we need to be mindful of that, lest we forget ourselves, go offline, and wander through life unconsciously and in the dark. Sandra?
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. I was programmed to believe lies about myself. And, some of those lies were that I was not good enough, that I couldn't do anything right, that I was a reject, that there was something wrong with me, the whole thing, and to let go of that program, to see myself the way God sees me, I had to do, an inventory and look and go in, but it's so much freedom to see ourselves the way God sees us and let go of those lies.
Indeed. And without it, there is no freedom.
That's right. That's why I love, love, love this course.
Thank you. Heather?
Yeah, just a exclamation point on your part about teach us way to lest you forget yourself. That's what all this this whole the review has been in our lessons. My mind holds only what I think with God. It reminds us that that's who we are. Don't forget who you are. Don't forget that your mind is really, that's what it's for, is to only remember the thoughts that you think with God. And it's been endless, this like a whole week. It's just all this short little lessons. Don't forget. Don't forget who you are. Don't forget your mind you hold only what you think with God. So I just love that the lesson fits right in here perfectly.
Yep, it really is. Teach the Holy Spirit's way, lest you forget yourself. And yes. David?
Only honor is a fitting gift for those whom God himself created, worthy of honor, and whom he honors. Give them the appreciation God accords them always, because they are his beloved sons, in whom he is well pleased. You cannot be apart from them, because you are not apart from him. Rest in his love and protect your rest by loving. But love everything he created, of which you are a part, or you cannot learn of his peace and accept his gift for yourself and as yourself. You cannot know your own perfection until you have honored all those who were created like you.
So that last statement is a law of mind that the Course reminds us of, that to truly know your own perfection, when we say know, we mean it with a capital letters, not just to theorize or partially believe in your own perfection or to even just say the words like a mantra, but to know it in the depths of your being. You cannot know your own perfection until you've honored all those who are created like you, without exception. So in a few moments, we're going to go over the stages that are involved in this shift from total unknowing to total forgetfulness of your perfection, through the intermediate stages of understanding and appreciation and acceptance, and to the final stages of completely knowing. So this is a bit of a pre-echo of what will come in just a moment. Okay, I think we're going to go on here into the next paragraph.
One child of God is the only teacher sufficiently worthy to teach another. One teacher is in all minds, and he teaches the same lesson to all. He always teaches you the infinite worth of every son of God, teaching it with infinite patience, born of the infinite love for which he speaks. Every attack is a call for his patience, since his patience can translate attack into blessing. Those who attack do not know they are blessed. They attack because they believe they are deprived. Give, therefore, of your abundance and teach your brothers theirs. Do not share their illusions of scarcity, or you will perceive yourself as lacking.
As David was reading this, I was hearing, pray. Why would you pray for your enemies? So this is a New Testament guidance to pray for your enemies. Why would you pray, forgive 70 times 7, which is 490 times of forgiving? Why would you do that? Why would you persist that way? Well, it's giving out of your abundance and for the purposes of teaching the other who seems to be lacking the understanding, to teach them the truth of what you believe about yourself. Remember, every time a brother attacks, it's a call for love. Here we're talking about call it to you, it calls for your patience. From him, it's a confusion in his mind that is really wants to be loved, but is inside a thought matrix that is confused and therefore feels temporarily that he's lacking love, feels as though they're deprived. So there is one universal attitude which the Holy Spirit teaches towards every situation, and that is the infinite worth of every individual. This emphasizes not so much the equality, but the infinite value of each person. Why? Why would we consider them to be of infinite value? Because we were all created together out of an infinite love, and deep within, perhaps not on the surface yet, but deep within, there was this holy mind within each one of us, which is of infinite value. And it's the recognition in your mind that that is true of everyone. That's what we're here for, is to remember ourselves and recognize the infinite worth of everyone, and therefore call upon patience in those situations where it's being denied, and also to call upon you to be a blessing in those moments so that you too reaffirm the truth of who you are rather than become confused by the illusions of scarcity. If the temptation the ego would have is for you to confuse yourself in moments like that, forget yourself, believe in the illusions of scarcity, and to perceive yourself as lacking, and having done that, appoint yourself as the judge. Where is the guilt to be assigned? And then what penalties should be applied? That's the temptation of the ego. That's what happens when we forget ourselves. And so in every situation, there is a lesson for you to learn, even in the ones that would seem to trigger you. There is an opportunity for you to learn to be patient, remember who you are, remember that you have gifts and that all of us have gifts, and this is an opportunity to share your gift, to share your blessing. Noelle?
This lesson in terms of totality, the giving blessings and receiving blessings is a major part of the totality. I also, it strikes me too that when as in your example, when a brother is behaving insanely, I in some way have attracted that because I need to practice the blessing of seeing that brother in his inestimable worth, as well as myself. So the people and the situations that come before us are, it seems, are partly a result of our thought system, our thoughts about ourselves, and what we need to learn.
There's always a lesson that we can learn, no matter what situation crosses our path. Thank you, Noel. Sandra?
Yeah, I used to not embrace triggers. I was pissed at triggers. Now it's like, oh my God, another trigger. What a great opportunity. The triggers are my trigger to go within and heal what I need to heal in myself, because the triggers are never about the other person. They're always about what is it I need to heal in myself. So I mean, this has taken a long time to get here. And you know who's bringing me here? God bless them, my children. They are bringing me here, and I love them so much for the way they're behaving right now, which has been very triggering for a couple of years. So now I'm just like, oh wow, and I just love them. I love those triggers now, and I love my children for triggering me. I'm complete.
It's so true. And if you really think about it, if you encounter over a month dozens and dozens of people, most of them are very nice and polite and do everything they can to treat you respectfully. But there's that one that just goes the other way and stirs you up. And if you're determined to heal, you will learn more from that one.
Yep.
Because you pray deep to not go on into your false self tirade. You pray deep there. And I know when I've been triggered, I have learned a great deal from those situations. It might not be the easiest way to learn the lesson, but it's very powerful for getting one's attention. So what do we say about attack, David?
Attack could never promote attack unless you perceived it as a means of depriving you of something you want. Yet you cannot lose anything unless you do not value it and therefore do not want it. This makes you feel deprived of it, and by projecting your own rejection, you then believe that others are taking it from you. You must be fearful if you believe that your brother is attacking you to tear the kingdom of heaven from you. This is the ultimate basis for all the ego's projection.
One more paragraph, please.
Being the part of your mind that does not believe it is responsible for itself, and being without allegiance to God, the ego is incapable of trust. Projecting its insane belief that you have been treacherous to your creator. It believes that your brothers, who are as incapable of this as you are out to take God from you. Whenever a brother attacks another, that is what he believes. Projection always sees your wishes in others. If you choose to separate yourself from God, that is what you will think others are doing to you.
Wow, I just had a flash, and I'm so grateful that Sandra mentioned healthier boundaries earlier. So in the conventional understanding of setting healthy boundaries, it's usually done in the context of other people are behaving in a way that I need to protect myself and set boundaries. Or maybe it's around my children. I need to set boundaries to keep these other people away. That would be the conventional way. for understanding. And we're not in denial of that, or that's one example. This is why you need a workshop. Now let's look at where you need to protect from yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, so where does that happen? And it's right here. When you feel deprived of love and wind up projecting your own rejection. I really wish I had underlined it, that you should underline and make a note. When you feel deprived, you will feel rejected, you will feel empty and lacking. And then the law of perception is that you will project that lack outward. You subscribe to the worldview that we are lacking and project your own rejection. It's the part of your mind that does not believe it's responsible for itself. It fails to see the boundary here and winds up projecting your own self-criticism, self-lack and deprivation outward into others. And this can become a worldview. This is a view of the world. This is the ego's worldview, that I am lacking in totality, that I'm empty and deprived and unloved, and then projecting that outward and seeing everyone else through that lens. And so that is a poor boundary. That is the belief that the problem exists out there. They are my triggers. This teaching here says that if there's going to be a change of mind, it begins with me. I've forgotten who I am, and that's why I felt like I was being vulnerable to others. So it's the mind. I find that this lesson is perhaps the most difficult one that you will encounter, is the mind taking responsibility for itself and recognizing that if you're seeing other people as guilty, angry, judgmental, attacked, unloving, needy, insane, it's because your opinion of them is that they are that way. And if you have that opinion of them, they are mirrors for yourself. That's an opinion of yourself. And you need to set a boundary around those thoughts. Otherwise, you will project your own rejection outward onto them and believe that the world consists of people that are lacking in love. This is why everything is upside down, because we fail to recognize that. We think the problem is out there. Lack of responsibility for the part of our mind. It's not all of our mind. It's not our holy mind doing this. It's the part of our mind that believes they are responsible for my anger, my fear, my deprivation. Okay, so a couple hands. Susie?
Yeah, this last line is profound. And if you choose to separate yourself from God, that is what you will think others are doing to you. I mean, that is just an aha moment for me. And that's where the grievances come. But it's telling us why right there. It's telling us. And it's just to piggyback what Heather said, and I've been very into these reviews as well. If I choose to hold anything in my mind that is not of God, this is where it leads me. And it's so clear to me right now, like, whoa, holy instant kind of thing, That's what it is. And that brings it back to what you say. It's my response. If I choose, which is my responsibility, to be in a separate scarcity lacking state, which is without God, that is exactly, I will point my finger at you or the person that I'm, having issues with. Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. Well said. Kim?
Hey, yeah, I just wanted to share a shift that I made recently around the word trigger. Because I shifted the word trigger to a God wink or an awareness opportunity. Because what I realized, the word trigger had a resistance connotation to it and a negative connotation to it. And now that I've made that shift, I look at every one of these things now as an opportunity for me to heal.
I love it. Kim, you just illustrated very succinctly how the Holy Spirit translates a term that we've all heard, a trigger, and that does have negative connotations. They're triggering me. You just translated that into a God opportunity for healing. That is exactly how the Holy Spirit teaches. Thank you. Heather?
Well, I'd echo that. Thank you, Kim. That just really, all of a sudden, that word is completely, doesn't have a charge on it anymore. It's like a gift to be unwrapped instead of something horrible that I don't, something horrible that did something to me. So thank you so much for that. I'd love this part about it is responsible for itself, taking responsibility. I just really understand that in this context is what accepting the atonement for myself means. It's taking responsibility for my thoughts and my salvation and all that. And that's accepting the atonement for myself, is accepting the responsibility that I'm doing this to myself. All the stuff that we're reading.
Mm-hmm. It really is. Thank you. Noel? Oh, you need some. Go ahead.
Also, trigger, as you guys have said, implies they're doing it to me.
Yes.
Rather, it's my projection of what they're doing. And that's reflected back to me, as I said, in what I need, I like the God wink that I need right now.
Yes. It comes to me, I'm not a victim of the world I see. But if I think they're triggering me, I'm pretending as if I'm a victim of the way I perceive the world. You're spot on, Noel. I'm just restating what you said. Very good. Okay, so we need to bring this back to those were foundational principles of the law of mind, which is what thought system am I using in these situations? We need to, so we're going to bring this back to the idea of totality here, which will be elaborated on in the next two sections in more detail. David?
You are the will of God. Do not accept anything else as your will, or you are denying what you are. Deny this, and you will attack, believing you have been attacked. But see the love of God in you, and you will see it everywhere, because it is everywhere. See his abundance in everyone, and you will know that you are in him with them. They are part of you, as you are part of God. You are as lonely without understanding this as God himself is lonely when his sons do not know him. The peace of God is understanding this. There is only one way out of the world's thinking, just as there was only one way into it. Understand totally by understanding totality.
Mhm. So one way to appreciate the shift in how you view yourself here is right there, that they are part of you. Whoever it was that I used to think triggered me, that was responsible for my upset, for my grievances, they are not separate entities in a different status than me. They are a part of something grand, something complete, that it's something that is beyond the limits of my little mind to appreciate, but not beyond the limits of my holy mind to appreciate. And so I'm seeing part of myself in them. And remember, you don't forget who your true self is. If I'm going to see part of myself in them, I want to see my true self, not the lies I've told myself about them. And so there's an attitudinal shift. Is everywhere you go, there are opportunities for you to see how you view yourself. In this program, it's an amazing lesson that no matter where you go, what you do, what happens, there are mirrors of your own self-concept all around you. And you, in that moment, you either have forgotten your true self or you have remembered who you are and recognize that you are blessed and have a blessing to give, a gift to give. So this understanding, this is the central thesis that we're introducing about totality. This understanding that you are blessed and have a blessing to give it's a theory until you really grasp it, that this understanding can only be grasped, understood by understanding totality. And until you grasp the big picture, you will not appreciate your role as part of the big picture. I'll say that another way. If you isolate the little picture and try to understand yourself, you will never understand totality, because you're looking at yourself through a fragmented lens. You can only understand yourself by seeing yourself in relationship to everything. And therefore, you must understand totality. And as a result of that, you will understand totally. This is a spiritual gift. This is not an intellectual teaching. This is a profound and transcendent, inspired awareness that is already in your most holy mind. And the purpose here is to bring it into your conscious awareness so that you understand it consciously. And as we will read in a moment, once you understand it consciously, there are a few more steps to go for you, but it begins with your understanding it consciously. You're recognizing it. And it's not by focusing on the parts, it's by focusing on the whole. And so this is the introduction to understanding totality. So we're not through with this, but this should be enough to get your attention that there's something here that is vital to the way you see yourself and has implications to the way you see everyone and relate to everyone and everything. Sandra?
I am so blissed out right now. I can't even tell you. You know, and again, I just have to acknowledge my children. I just love them so much. I heard something this morning about, you know, I've wanted my whole life. It was all about healing and waking up. And I have been aware of the divine design, and this is just the divine design. God needs us as much as we need God. And I need those who don't want to wake up as much as I need those who do want to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
Because those who don't want to wake up are triggering me or giving me a God wink to help me to go in deep and find out what it is I need to heal and clean up and take responsibility for, so that I can wake up. And the more I do that, then I can radiate God's love all over the place. And it's that radiating of God's love that's going to encourage the others to wake up. Now, in this past few years since the pandemic, I've been so frustrated. I'm like, people, will you please wake up? Will you please? And it's like, no, I need them to be exactly how they are. Because otherwise I can't complete my own ascension process. And this is a time of ascension. And I'm so grateful. And a lot has been happening since I've gotten on your meetings, Jonica. So I just want to thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Yeah, it happens here, huh?
Yes.
All right, we're close to the end of our time, but there's a few more final notes that we'll make sure we make before we sign off. David?
Perceive any part of the ego's thought system as wholly insane, wholly delusional, and wholly undesirable, and you have correctly evaluated all of it.
Let me pause you there. There is one right use of judgment, and that is to judge the ego properly. As I just said, perceive it as wholly insane, wholly delusional, and wholly undesirable, and you've correctly evaluated it. That's the right use of judgment, not judge others, but the presence of thoughts in your own consciousness that sweep over and from the ego. That's the proper use of your judgment, and this is a healthy boundary, Sandra. Otherwise, we think that the problem's out there, that I'm a victim of them triggering me. That it appears to be external because we're not accepting responsibility for the part of our mind that believes in the delusions. All right, sorry, I got excited there. David?
Perceive any part of the ego's thought system as wholly insane, wholly delusional, and wholly undesirable, and you have correctly evaluated all of it. This correction enables you to perceive any part of creation as wholly real, wholly perfect, and wholly desirable. Wanting this only, you will have this only. And giving this only, you will be only this. The gifts you offer to the ego are always experienced as sacrifices, but the gifts you offer to the kingdom are gifts to you, who will always be treasured by God because they belong to his beloved sons who belong to him. All power and glory are yours because the kingdom is his.
Mhm. So we said a moment ago that the correct use of judgment is to evaluate the ego correctly. What happens as a result of that? This correction enables you to perceive any part of the creation as wholly real, wholly perfect, and wholly desirable. We need to clear our mind of ego thought systems, delusions, by correctly evaluating it. And that clears our mind, preparing it to perceive creation as it really is. This is essential to understand totality, is to perceive creation as it really is, not as the ego perceives it. So I want to summarize a couple key points, many of which are made in the next two sections, but relate to totality. Think of it as a journey, not as a theory, but as an experience of your own mind from a state of not understanding through a state of understanding and appreciation, and eventually to a state of perfect knowing of totality. And so here's one way to express it. First, totality is a principle of creation, and it refers to the interconnectedness of everything. It is not life in creation is not full of separate entities, but all creation is part of an integrated oneness. And your perception plays a part in this. And we will continue in this mode of interpreting life, which is what perception is. It's an interpretation, until such time as all creation returns to knowing itself as one. Until that vision unfolds, we'll be in a realm of perception, and miracles will operate as a lesson in total perception. It will enable you in an individual specific situation to see the laws of creation operating, and by including any part of the totality in your lesson, you will have a glimpse into the entirety of it. You'll have I call it a glimpse. It's a divine glimpse. And the course is very specific. There is only one way out of chaotic thinking, because there was only one way into this mess. And that way is to understand totally by understanding totality. Moving away from the fragmented, separated view into a realization that we are a part of a gigantic whole, You cannot understand wholeness unless you are whole, and no part of the sonship can be excluded if you would know the wholeness of the Father. So, by the way, we'll go over some of these points. I'm rushing a bit here. We'll go over some of these points again in the next two sections. So this idea of totality, the Holy Spirit already understands perfectly. And therefore, it's really within you already, within your most holy mind. The concept of totality has always been there. And think of it as a gift to your conscious mind to remember once again this thing that the Holy Spirit has forever known. It's a gift that can help you recognize part of reality in a miraculous moment, and thereby have a glimpse that would appreciate all of reality. And the more miracles that happen like that, you begin to realize this is the nature of your true being. This is what you are. From a point of view of belief and faith and confidence, as more miracles happen, these are quantitative experiences. They move us along towards the point where we become confident in them. And we understand totality is how we were created. It's a part of our being. Spirit, in your most deep holy mind, Spirit knows this already and cannot conceive of any part of creation from which it is excluded. Spirit knows. Now we're talking about the knowing of totality, not just the belief or faith or understanding, but a perfect and complete knowing. Spirit knows that the awareness of all its brothers is included inside its own awareness of itself. If you understand the absolute truth of any one part, you have understood the truth of the whole. And there's one more. And all this ultimately, this is the ultimate state, brings us to a knowledge. Knowledge is an experience of totality for which the ego does not believe. I should put this idea first. The ego, everything we said about totality, the ego does not believe in. As a matter of fact, the origin of the belief of the ego is in the denial of totality. This is the central lie, is that totality does not exist. And therefore, if you are to move out of the lie, you must correct this lie about totality not existing. So the ego would offer you an alternative to totality, a fragmented, separated view of the world. You're off on your own and everything. It's an alternative view of reality. That is the great lie, and is a healthy boundary needed so that you don't drift into that lie, and instead affirm that your being is a part of the total. And so this is a journey that begins with the recognition of the source of the great lie of denial of totality. We're keeping that out of your mind, beginning to understand totality, and then there are subsequent levels of appreciating it with your whole heart and soul. And as you appreciate it with your entire heart and soul, you accept it as your true nature. And with that acceptance, you become identified with it. It's the way you identify reality, and you become to love both it as you become, it's a part of love. The journey back to love is you identify yourself as a part of everything in love and acceptance and appreciation. And this is the knowledge of totality, is to be totally in love with everything. So we're not going to get there in one gigantic leap, but the Holy Spirit has a series of gentle steps she is taking us through. But please understand, this is all going someplace really magnificent. There is nothing I would rather be doing than being on this journey back home, this return to love, to our true nature, to eternity and the understanding. This is the peace that passes all understanding. So I ran over. Thank you all for your patience here. And please join us again real soon. We look forward to taking the next step towards the remembrance and love of everyone.
Thank you,
Namaste.
Jonica. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Love you all. Thanks,
Peace
David.
and love. Thank you, David, for reading.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Again.